Hello friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv, and we are in the book of 1 Samuel, and we are in chapter 29. Achish sends David back to Ziklag. So now, remember, they've been hanging out in the Philistine thing. Achish is their Philistine friend, and he thinks that he's got, David kind of on lockdown and doing whatever he wants. Meanwhile, David and the Israelites, well, I should really say the tribe of Judah. I mean, there are people there that aren't from the tribe of Judah, have been roaming about committing raids and wiping out sort of Philistine encampments. Only Achish doesn't know that. The Philistines gathered all their forces at Aphek, A-P-H-E-K, and Israel, who they're now at war with, camped by the spring in Jezreel. As the Philistine rulers marched with their units of hundreds and thousands, David and his men were marching at the rear with Achish. The commanders of the Philistines asked, "How about these Hebrews?" Achish replied, "This is not David, who was an officer of Saul, king of Israel. Is this not David?" Let me rephrase the emphasis there. Is this not David, who was an officer of Saul, king of Israel? He has already been with me for over a year, and from the day he left Saul until now, I have found no fault with him. So, vouching for the Hebrews that are with him. But the Philistine commanders were very angry with him and said, "Send the man back that he may return to the place you assigned him. He must not go with us into battle, or he will turn against us during the fighting. How better could he regain his master's favor than by taking the heads of our own men? Isn't this the David they sang about in their dances, Saul slain his thousands and David his 10,000s? So Achish called David and said to him, "As surely as the Lord lives, you have been reliable, and I would be pleased to have you serve me in the army. From the day you came to me until now, I have found no fault with you. But the rulers don't approve of you. Turn back and go in peace. Do nothing that displeases the Philistine rulers." "But what have I done?" asked David. "What have you found against your servant from the day I came to you until now? Why can't I go and fight against the enemy of my lord the king?" Achish answered, "I know that you have been pleasing in my eyes as an angel of God. Nevertheless, the Philistine commanders have said, 'You must not go with us into battle. Now get up early, along with your master's servants who have come with you, and leave in the morning as soon as it is light.' So David and his men got up early in the morning to go back to the land of the Philistines, and the Philistines went up to Jezreel." So, taking the marching orders, because these Philistine commanders are taking no chances, and considering that David cut off the head of a giant, I can't say I could quite blame them. The feint maneuver is definitely like a feint attack. It's definitely one of Israel's favorite kind of things. But even for a year in waiting in ambush is a bit long even for them. It's usually like the night before or something, because let's not be unreasonable. So until the next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv. We are in the book of 1 Samuel, and we are in chapter 30. David destroys the Amalekites. David and his men reached Ziklag on the third day. Now the Amalekites had raided the Negev and Ziklag. They had attacked Ziklag and burned it. and had taken captive the women and all who were in it, both young and old. They killed none of them, but carried them off as they went on their way. So, because remember, these guys have been in camp there, and there's like 600 people, or 600 fighting men under David that are there. When David and his men came to Ziklag, they found it destroyed by fire, and their wives and sons and daughters taken captive. So David and his men wept out loud until they had no strength left to weep. David's 2 wives had been captured, Ahinoam of Jezreel, and Abigail, the widow of Nabal at Carmel. David was greatly distressed because the men were talking of stoning him. Each one was bitter in spirit because of his sons and daughters. But David found the strength in the Lord, his God. Then David said to Abiathar the priest, the son of Ahimelech, bring me the ephod. Abiathar brought it to him. And David inquired of the Lord, shall I pursue this raiding party? Will I overtake him? Pursue them, he answered. You will certainly overtake them and succeed in a rescue. That's kind of cool, right? David and 600 men with him came to Bezar ravine, where some stayed behind. For 200 men were too exhausted to cross the ravine. But David and 400 men continued the pursuit. They found an Egyptian in a field and brought him to David. They gave him water to drink and food to eat, part of a cake of pressed figs and 2 cakes of raisins. He ate and was revived, for he had not eaten any food or drunk any water for 3 days and 3 nights. David asked him, to whom do you belong and where do you come from? He said, I am an Egyptian, the slave of an Amalekite. My master abandoned me when I became ill 3 days ago. We raided the Negev of the Keretherites and the territory belonging to Judah and the Negev of Caleb. And we burned Ziklag. David asked him, can you lead me down to this raiding party? He answered, swear to me before God that you will not kill me or hand me over to my master, and then I will take you down to them. He led David down, and there they were, scattered all over the countryside, eating, drinking, and reveling because of the great amount of plunder that had been taken from the land of the Philistines and from Judah. David fought them from dusk until evening of the next day, and none of them got away except 400 young men who rode off on camels and fled. David recovered everything the Amalekites had taken, including his 2 wives. Nothing was missing, young or old, boy or girl, plunder, or anything else they had taken. David brought everything back. He took all the flocks and herds, and his men drove them ahead of the other livestock, saying, this is David's plunder. Then David came to the 200 men who had been too exhausted to follow him and who were left behind at Bezor ravine. They came out to meet David and the people with him. As David and his men approached, he greeted them, but all the evil men and troublemakers among David's followers said, because they did not go out with us, we will not share with them the plunder we recovered. However, each man may take his wife and children and go. David replied, no, my brothers, you must not do that with what the Lord has given us. He has protected us and handed over to us the forces that came against us. Who will listen to what you say? The share of the man who stayed with the supplies is to be the same of that of the man who went down to battle. All will share alike. Well, that's true. Not all people in the regiment of an army can go out to war at the exact same moment. If you've got a supply line you got to protect. David said this, David made this a statute and an ordinance for Israel from that day to this. When David arrived in Ziklag, he sent some of the plunder to the elders of Judah, who were his friends, saying, here is a present for you from the plunder of the Lord's enemies. He sent it to those who were in Bethel, Ramoth Negev, and Jatir. So, making inroads with his own tribe. To those in, oh goodness, it's that one name I can't even pronounce anymore. Aroer, Aroer, Sifmoth, Siphmoth, Eshtuma, Eshtemoa, and Racal, Racal. To those in the towns of the Jeharamelites and the Kenites, to those in Hormah, Bor Ashen. So hold on. Jerahmel, because there's a whole bunch there I didn't spell. Jerahmelites, Jerahmelites, and Kenites, Kenites, and to those in Hormah, Hormah, and Bor Ashen, Bor, separate word, Ashan, Atak, Athach, and Hebron, and to those in the other places where David and his men had roamed. So spreading the wealth, spreading goodwill and wealth for his activities in the area. And also, in his mind, doing what was right, returning at least some of what had been taken from them as an act of as good faith. Because remember, who knows what Saul's been telling people, but David's been too busy just trying to survive to really do much of anything else other than whatever feels right. So, until the next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the final chapter of the book of 1 Samuel. So we are completing the book of 1 Samuel today. It is chapter 31. Saul takes his life. Isn't that just tragic? Here's an interesting tidbit about Saul. Saul, if you note, is from Jabesh Gibeah. That is the town, because remember, he's from the tribe of Benjamin. That is the town in the tribe of Benjamin where they came through and slaughtered everybody in that town except the virgin women, who they then gave in marriage to the Benjaminites who had been hiding in the hill country, all because they didn't want to give up the people who had committed this atrocity of raping someone to death after trying to, like, gang rape a, male visitor to the town. Because the tribe didn't want to give up the bad actors, all of Israel went to a civil war. And then they decided they couldn't wipe out the whole tribe. But they came in and wiped out everybody who was in this tribe except the virgin women, because they didn't show up for a meeting. Because that was the declaration. You either show up for this or you get wiped out because of the war that they were supposed to go through with the Benjaminites. So this is after they wiped out so many people. Then they went through and they wiped out some more. But then they took all the virgin women there and then gave them to Benjaminite men to, be wives to. Except that there was only 400 of them. So it's the same tribe. That is where Saul is from. Saul is from one of those men who were hiding up in that hill country that had to come down, who was full-blooded Benjaminite, because those ones in Gibeah, Jabesh, that they were. But there were 200 Ephraimite women, and we had the first cross-tribe crossover really happening there in force. In mass, if you will. Feels appropriate to give you these facts about Saul. Because, right now, if you were to go there, this place is a ruin. Where Saul is from is a ruin now. Saul takes his life. Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the Israelites fled before them, and many fell slain on Mount Gilboa. Gilboa. The Philistines pressed hard after Saul and his sons, and they killed his sons Jonathan, Abinadab, Abinadab, and Malchishua, Malki-Shua. The fighting grew fierce around Saul, and when the archers overtook him, they wounded him critically. Saul said to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and run me through, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and run me through and abuse me." But his armor-bearer was terrified and would not do it, so Saul took his own sword and fell on it. When the armor-bearer saw Saul was dead, he too fell on his sword and died with him. So Saul and his 3 sons and his armor-bearer and all his men died together that same day. Because remember, he had a personal bodyguard sort of contingency going on there. When the Israelites along the valley and those across the Jordan saw that the Israelite army had fled and that Saul and his sons had died, they abandoned their towns and fled. And the Philistines came and occupied them. The next day, when the Philistines came to strip the dead, they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. They cut off his head and stripped off his armor, and they sent messengers throughout the land of the Philistines to proclaim the news in the temple of their idols and among their people. They put his armor in the temple of Ashtaroth. So according to a grimorum, that's a demon that likes to occupy a particular part of the world. But it's also part of the pantheon. The temple of Ashtaroth, and fastened his body to the wall of Beth-shan. When the people of Jabesh Gilead heard of what the Philistines had done to Saul, all their valiant men journeyed through the night to Beth-shan. They took down the bodies of Saul and his sons from the wall of Beth-shan and went to Jabesh, where they burned them. Then they took their bones and buried them under a tamarisk tree at Jabesh, and they fasted 7 days. And that concludes both the life and, of course, then the reign of Israel's first king, King Saul. And in our next video, we'll be starting a new book, 2 Samuel. So until then, friends. Hello, friends. So, Bible study, the Niv, John, chapter 12, 1 through 19 today. It's going to go through 2 different parables. The first parable here is called Jesus Anointed at Bethany. 6 days before the Passover. So remember, Passover happens right before Easter. So we're talking, springtime. Okay. Jesus arrived at Bethany, where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So he had left, and now he was coming back. He was going to spend Passover Seder with these particular people. Here, a dinner was given in Jesus' honor. Martha served, and Lazarus was among those reclining at the table with him. Then Mary took out a pint of pure nard, which is spikenard. Okay, spikenard helps reconnect us to the divine. It's also used during burial process. Usually myrrh is also anointed with this. It was an expensive perfume. But she poured it out on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume, which is actually a very delightful smell. I have spikenard, I have frankincense and myrrh. I've got all the things that they list in the Old Testament. It's that ordained minister stuff. We actually have things we have to do with those stuff. It's pleasing aromas to the Lord are part of how you get him to listen to you in the first place. Frankincense and myrrh specifically, they open up your pineal gland. They have a neurochemical effect on your brain that opens your brain in different ways so that you have a more spiritual effect. That's why they burn them in temples and churches and etc. I recommend you burn them in your home. I burn them in my home daily, so it'll help you. Minimally, it also works like like people know how sage works and stuff like it works like that too. It'll clean out any negative energies. But one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, who was later to betray him, objected. Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages. He did not say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. As the keeper of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put into it. So you have to just imagine, these are tithes, right? These are people's donations to Jesus because he's amazing. So what he's saying, he's stealing from the church. Meanwhile, a large crowd of Jews found out that Jesus was there and came not only because of him, but also to see Lazarus, who he had raised from the dead. So the chief priests made plans to kill Lazarus as well, for on the account of him, many Jews were going over to Jesus and putting their faith in him. So, oh no, right? He did this thing. We have to get rid of his proof that he is the Messiah. So, we'll get a little more into why that is at the end of the next parable, which is the triumphal entry. Verse 12. The next day, the great crowd that had come for the feast heard that Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem. So they took palm branches and went out to meet him, shouting, Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the King of Israel. Jesus found a young donkey and sat upon it, as it was written. Do not be afraid, O daughter of Zion. See, your king is coming, seated on a donkey's colt. Now that in particular comes from, looks like Zechariah 9, chapter 9, verse 9. So a prophet speaking terms. At first, his disciples did not understand all of this. Only after Jesus was glorified did they realize that these things had been written about him, and that he had done these, and they had done these things to him. Now the crowd that was with him when he called Lazarus from the tomb and raised him from the dead continued to spread the word. Many people, because they had heard that he had given this miraculous sign, went out to meet him. So the Pharisees said to one another, see, this is getting us nowhere. Look how the whole world has gone after him. So what we're dealing with right here, and in the chapter before, is what we call in science is confirmation bias. They're not looking for the signs that he is the Messiah. They're looking for the signs of things that say we can kill him, so people don't follow him, so that our power is intact, and so the Romans don't try to take away our faith. There wouldn't actually be any contention if they just went, hey, look, our Messiah's here. Right? And if they made that kind of statement and proclaimed that to the rest of the Jews, all the rest of the Jews would get on board, and there would also be no riot. Because it would just be wonderful faith. because he's not actually there to be the warrior king. But the people are looking for the warrior king. The Pharisees are concerned that they're going to try to throw out the Romans and be unsuccessful, and then the Romans are going to come in and take everything away because they're not wanting to see him as the Messiah. They were not looking at the actual work he did. They were not looking at the work he did and seeing, does this line up with what the prophet said the Messiah would do, to see if it was a yes. They're only looking at it in one lens. That's confirmation bias. So, as we go about the world today, let's not look at the world from only one lens. Let's actually ask lots of questions and then let us be led to what is the truth. The beautiful news about the way this world is set up and the way that we are all part of a tribe is that you are actually not responsible for knowing how to do everything, know everything, or be perfect. Isn't that wonderful news? You're allowed to have flaws and need other people and to interact with the people. And the people you need on the days you need them will be sent to you. And you don't actually have to do anything for that but exist. I think that's a great relief. You don't have to be perfect. You can just be the best version of the you that you can be in any one given moment is a blessing. If you get too much in the hyper-independence factor, expect the Creator will give you a reminder of why you're part of a pack. Or at least that's what I've consistently found in my life. And I do suffer from overachiever and perfectionism. Toxic overdoer. Definitely in there. Okay, so I send you all blessing and love. Let's try to stay in the light and love. You don't have to be perfect, and don't be afraid to rely on your people around you. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv, and we are in Psalms, Book 5, Psalm 113. Praise the Lord. Praise, O servants of the Lord. Praise the name of the Lord. Let the name of the Lord be praised both now and forevermore. From the rising of the sun to the place where it sets, the name of the Lord is to be praised. The Lord is exalted over all the nations, his glory above the heavens. Who is like the Lord our God? The one who sits enthroned on high, who stoops down to look on the heavens, on the earth. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap. He seats them with princes, with the princes of their people. He settles the barren woman in her home as a happy mother of children. Praise the Lord. He creates miracles. Until the next video, friends.